All right. So, hello, everyone. It gives me great pleasure in introducing you to this new adventure called Taboola Talks. Over the next few weeks, I'll be speaking with distinguished leaders in Taboola to learn from their careers and draw inspiration from their journeys. Today's guest is someone whose story has intrigued each one of us. It perhaps left us a bit awestruck when we first heard of this at Taboola. Welcome to what promises to be a remarkable conversation. Smart, intelligent, and fun. It is easy to promise all these things when your guest happens to be Rand Book. Thank you very much, Rand, for giving me the time and speaking with me on Taboola Talks.
No, thank you.
Awesome. So, Rand, before anything else, I'd be doing grave injustice if I don't start with this. Everyone that has attended Taboola U, and there are some wonderful sessions in this, is deeply intrigued by your story and your journey from being in the Air Force, being a pilot, to being a chef, to being what you are in Taboola today. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement among Taboolars to hear it firsthand from you on what was this transition like. So if you could perhaps reflect back on those initial days and share a few of those things with us, that would be a great start.
Sure. When I finished to serve the Air Force, I thought with myself what I'm going to do in my life. And it was very clear to me that I'm going to do some business. I didn't know in what version, in what way, what will be the platform, but definitely thought about being a business person. And I thought about restaurants and how to be a chef. But it was always from the business perspective and less being of an artist. I'm unfortunately far away from being an artist, even though I would love to. But it was always about business and essence of business. So that was from my perspective, it was direct. It was great direct way to become a business person and think about the business I will have. And then after that, one day I met Eldad Maniv, and the rest is history.
Fantastic. Just one thing I would like to point out, as much as you are a great business leader, I would also like to point out, perhaps cooking is the greatest art form that there is. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to call yourself an artist. Someone who, with your artistry, can perhaps draw people in through different senses, the tongue, the taste, the smell. I think that's a great art form.
Sure, I agree. But again, I came to it from the business perspective and not just from the artist part.
Fantastic. Looking back, Rand, all these years, what do you think was the biggest reason for you to believe in Taboola, which perhaps was still at a very nascent stage in its growth? What do you think was that one trigger for you which made you say, okay, Taboola is the place where I want to be spending the next foreseeable future?
So it all started with the fact that Eldad challenged me in a very friendly conversation, nothing about like become someone in Taboola or become an employee in Taboola. I didn't even know at that time what Taboola means. For me, Taboola was a salad and nothing about a discovery platform. And I think that the second thing I remember, especially in a perspective backwards, is the fact that the people in Taboola are very, very special and unique. And I'm saying it until today, and I'm saying it to a lot of people that ask me, in Taboola, you feel that you are surrounded by amazing people that each one of them is like top-notch person you can meet in the world. And if I can ask, like a request will be to meet each of those people on a daily basis and just like listen to them, just hear what they have to say, because they're all smart and wise and passionate and very, very unique people. And I think that until today, it's true. So it was true from the beginning, and it's still true that our people are awesome.
Absolutely, Rand. I couldn't agree more. And like I said, you are who you spend your time with. And I can definitely vouch for it. Having come to Taboola, having spent my last 2.5 years, I've been having a great time. I will perhaps continue to maybe dig a little bit more on your initial part of the journey. So after you first came into Taboola, looking back, what do you think has been the most rewarding experience for you? Maybe some of those initial challenges that you faced while you were still setting up the APAC team. It was perhaps a very small group from what I can recall. So could you reflect on those initial challenges in that initial journey?
I think the main challenge is still, it was in the beginning and it's still on, is how to understand other cultures, how to understand people from different backgrounds, how to make the connection or to make the alignment between all of them. So we will all have the same interest with the same goal, and we're going to achieve it as a team. So we can be a great bunch of individuals, but at the end, if we're not going to work as a team, then it's not going to work. And I think that one of the things about Taboola, which is unique, is that we are a company that works as a team. It's not just one person or the other, which is very unique or very, very special. It's about the teamwork that we have and about the way we are collaborating between each other. And I think this is the essence that we shouldn't, and we make everything that we can in order not to lose. This is something that makes us very, very unique and successful.
Absolutely. You have spoken about people. Adam speaks about people. In fact, we've heard this multiple times, be it from Eldad, be it from you, be it from Adam, that it's all about the company's culture and how one can perhaps copy anything and everything, but not the culture and the people that make it. Now, my follow-up question to you on back of this is, what are the qualities that you look for in a person to be a potential leader within Taboola?
I will say that you ask for a leader. So I think in general, I'm expecting the leaders to listen to to employees, to colleagues, to managers. But the main thing from my side is just listen. And after that, I'm expecting them to be creative. I'm expecting them to be determined. I'm expecting them to be open-minded, out of box. I think that one of the things that make Taboola unique is the fact that we're helping to people to become initiators, proactive people. I think that people that are saying their opinion, we love. And we kind of, I wouldn't say disrespect is not the right word, but it's very weird for us that people are not saying their opinion. So we want to hear your opinion. We would love to hear your opinion because we first listen and then we implement. But I think as an execution machine, and I think that Taboola is an execution machine, we need to listen to each other and being very proactive. So that's what I'm expecting from my leaders. Not just to listen, to act, to initiate, to be creative. And the most important thing is to be kind to each other. I'm still considered, by the way, Taboola is my small family.
Absolutely. And a lot of us, especially in the APAC office, have been very fortunate to actually kind of experience a lot of these things that you just spoke of. And from multiple people, like you rightly said, it could be from the senior leadership, it could be from the management team, it could be from all the others. Now, kind of continuing on the same discussion, if there is a certain person who is aspiring to become a leader, grow in their career, what do you think are those specific qualities or skill sets that they should be working towards to get better at these things?
So there are some stuff that you need to probably to be born with. So passionate and enthusiastic and an initiator. This is all stuff that you need to have in your blood. It's very hard to train people to become like this. But I think that there are other stuff that I mentioned already. But we can train. We can talk about how to listen better to people. We can talk about how to become more proactive. It's important to ask questions. I think the essence of one of the great things about Taboola is that we have an essence of startup. Startup is we're making a great product. We're making kind of mistakes. We're learning from the mistakes. We're improving. We're making all the time progress. So it's like a circle of life for us. And you need to catch up with this circle of life. You need to understand that you're gonna do some mistakes. You're gonna do some wrong things. You're gonna fail sometimes. It's part of the essence. It's part of the culture that we have, and that's the way we are actually making a progress. And by the way, in some cultures, it's really, really hard to understand it. It's nothing about right or wrong. It's about like, how can I be part of it and understand the circle of life in that matter?
Wonderful, Ran. And in fact, this reminds me of one of the very senior positions, perhaps, I think, in Australian Army or Defense, wherein one of the critical things that they look for in the applicant's resume is, has this person ever failed? Because we wouldn't want to have a candidate who hasn't failed all through his life, who has always gone from one success to another, and then suddenly sees failure for the first time and perhaps gets rattled and does not know how to respond to it. It's interesting you have mentioned this because my next question is perhaps related to it. Now, everyone gets something or the other wrong. And like you rightly said, it's not such a bad thing. And there would be mistakes and failures all along. The big successes perhaps allow and pay for some of these failures. Could you reflect on one such failure in your professional life and how you dealt with it?
So first of all, I have so many, so it's hard for me to remember only one. But I can say that in general, I'm feeling that I'm failing. Sorry, almost every day, small things, big things. But it's about, from my perspective, is about how to fix those things that I'm failing with. What are the failure? How can I fix it in the shortest time? And what I learned from it and move on. I think that one thing I'm doing, and it's really helping me to push a lot of things forward, is the fact that I'm doing my week activities or my week missions per day. I'm doing them first, and then I'm going to the one that it's easy for me to do, like my strength or my strong abilities. So I'm always start the day with things that are a little bit more harder for me, and then I'm leaving the easiest one till the end of the day.
Fantastic. So, Ran, in addition to what you just mentioned, can you also perhaps reflect on maybe one of such failures that you faced in your current role? Now, this could perhaps even be something going back to the days when you just started this journey, when you started working with different businesses, different publishers, maybe one of those things that you can reflect upon.
Sure. I think that I have one time that I probably will never forget to the rest of my life. I tried to win a publisher in India, a very, very big one, very important one. Everyone told me, if you're going to bring this publisher, you win the market. And I tried many times. I went there, like I think 3 or 4 times, try to meet them, try to build the trust, create the partnership, create relationship. And at the end, they called me and they said, "We're sorry, but we decided to go with your competitor." It was really tough time. I got like a punch in my stomach. But I think that the lesson I got is that the day after I got the call, I gave them a call and I asked to set a lunch to discuss with them. And they said, but why? We just notify you that you lost the deal. And I said, yes, but if I would like to win the deal in 2 years, it starts tomorrow at our lunch. So please meet me for lunch and let's start to talk about relationship and trust and how can we move you from the competitor to us. And it's actually worked very well. A year later, they decided to move to Taboola and to forget about the other competitor. So I think it's just something we can learn from. It's all about relationship. It's all about trust between people. It's nothing about emails or giving the right price. It's not just about the price. It's all about trust and relationship.
Well, that's super interesting. I'm pretty certain whatever you felt about 12 months before this happened, the feeling that you had was completely different. If I could further press on it a little bit, now when it comes to relationships, it's a bit tricky right now. There is your personality that comes into it. So if I had to ask you this question a bit differently, if it wasn't Ranberg who was dealing the situation, it was someone else, what kind of advice would you give them of how to handle the scenario wherein you have been told this is not going to work? For whatever reason, it could be because I have a better relationship with your competitor, their offering is better, they are paying me higher, whatever it could be, for whatever reason, I have decided to go ahead with them. What then should this other person be doing to then win them back?
So I think that if I will say in general, of course, it depends on the size of the publisher, but I think that we need to understand that in order to win a publisher, you need to have a multi-layer relationship with the publisher. It's not only one person that's going to take the decision by himself. Maybe it is, but it's always going to get some opinions from others. And you need to work with the editorial team. You need to work with the product team. You need to work with the management, the business side. If someone, like my own tip for people will be wait a little bit and then start from scratch all around, but start early. Relationship you can build in 20 days when you're under RFP. Relationship you start to build long before that. And relationship means to meet people and to be attractive to them or to interest them, not only on the business side. You need to take your best efforts to become interesting for them, become kind of a partner, become kind of a friend sometimes. And that this is all about long-term. It's nothing about like 20 days before the RFP ends.
Sure. It's a very good point, Ryan. In fact, one of the things that I keep hearing from Ken is relationship is important, but what is also equally important is the value that we drive each time we have a conversation. If I was told I would get $1 million, each time I spoke to someone, that person would speak with me 24 hours a day. So thank you so much.
I agree, by the way. I think you mentioned something which is very important. When I'm saying to build relationship, it's about value. It's about putting things on the table that the other side not going to get from someone else.
Sure.
And this is really important. It can be fun, which is good value for the other side. It can be also money, which we know not going to win anything just by itself, but it's about trust. I think that the number one value is that you're getting trust, and getting trust is not just by giving someone more money. It's about knowing the right things. It's about knowing the right products. It's about support they're going to get. It's about value from the industry that they don't have, but you can bring them because you see a much wider picture sometimes than them. So it's all about trust and values. I totally agree.
Sure. At this point, I'll perhaps share another incident, and I'm pretty certain you will be able to, probably by the end of it, you'll be able to tell me who this other person is that I'm referring to. About 7 or 8 years back, I happened to meet with the CEO of a company based out of Bangalore. And of course, it's a publishing company. So that's a hint for you. And we were speaking on a topic which was around planning ahead, about being optimistic even when things don't work for you. And he happened to share an incident with us. He told us that this person called us from Japan, and he was told in absolutely no uncertain terms that we would not be signing a deal with them because we have gone ahead and signed a deal with the competitor for 12 months. So there is no point in having this conversation. And the caller from the other side said, fantastic, since you have a deal for 12 months, let's not waste any more time. Let's start the discussion right away. Let me come over tomorrow morning, have breakfast with you so that we have these 12 months to iron out any issues we may have. And as soon as the 12 months are over, we are ready to sign the deal. Now, it took me 7 years because that's when I joined Taboola, and that's when I connected all the dots to realize that this story was actually about you. And can you guess who is the CEO or the publisher in question that I'm speaking about?
Yes, I do. By the way, I had a traditional breakfast with him since then. Every time I'm coming to his area, we are setting time for breakfast. It was Sriram for One India. No question about that. By the way, I did it again, not just with Sriram, but we also with Skyson from Huawei, the guy that signed with Taboola. We had a traditional breakfast in Bangkok. Every time he came to Bangkok, we met for a breakfast. Again, I do believe and I'm acting upon. It's all about trust and relationship. People love to do business with people, not with emails or not with computers. They want to see who is the person on the other side. They want to know that they can trust you. They want to know that your word is your word and you're not going to turn off or back to them. Really important, and that's what brings us the wins.
Absolutely. And Rand, even before we knew who you were, there was a story that involved you that was already teaching us some very important lessons. And for me, the biggest story, or rather the biggest learning to take away from that story was, listen, failures happen. There are perhaps more times when things won't work for you than they would work for you. And it's natural to perhaps take a step back or get rattled. Instead, take the other approach, look at it positively and say, okay, 12 months, no harm, let's start the work from now itself. So I think that was a great story to hear from Sriram back then.
Thank you.
One last question on this. If there is one thing that you would like to tell Taboolars or professionals in general that are currently or that would be watching this, what would you like to tell them about that one thing that would help them grow in their careers or in their life?
I think the one thing I will say, and I'm always saying it, people that talk with me regularly know, I will say that do what you love and love what you do. If people love what they're doing, they're coming with passion, they are thinking all the time about how to make progress, how to grow, how to initiate new things because they really love what they're doing. So I do believe in it. And I think if people are not enjoying what they're doing or they don't like what they do, they don't need to do it. And they need to move on to a place that they will be a little bit more happy and enjoy what they do. So I do believe in it and I'm acting like this. And I'm always saying that for me, every day when I'm waking up in the morning, I really love what I'm doing.
Absolutely. So I will try to muster all the courage at my disposal and try and push you a little bit out of your comfort zone and try and move you away from the business conversation to a non-business conversation. It's a rapid fire round. The only request I have is to answer it as quickly as you can. So are you ready for it?
Yes.
All right. So here's the first one. If you could disappear for a day, what will be the first thing that you will do?
Disappear somewhere with my family and play with my kids on the beach.
You could still do that even if you did not have the power of disappearing.
It's true. Well, I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, that I want to spend more time with my kids as much as I can. So wherever I go, I would love them to be with me.
Awesome. The next thing is, when was the last time you did something for the first time and what was it?
Probably in last May, my first COVID-19 test. That was the first time I did it. So that's one. Something else, I first time in my life jumped from a plane with a parachute, but that was a long time ago, like skydiving. I don't know. That's what comes to my mind.
All right. So I mean, within Taboola, we speak a lot about this. So you shouldn't be surprised with this question. Adam pretty much on all the platforms uses the opportunity to show us his skills at this. So that's a hint. The question is, if you could be a superhero, what superhero would you choose to be and what would you like to change?
Okay, so I would love, I never said it, but I would love to be Superman. That was my hero when I was a kid. And if I can change something, so I think one thing I'm really engaged with and connected to is the climate issues around the world and how to make the planet more green. So that's something I would love to change. Something around the atmosphere. If I just saw a documentary about Mars and what's happened in the history of Mars, and it's like fascinating from my side. So I definitely going to do something around the atmosphere and how to keep the Earth and planet as much as we can clean and keep it for long or many years.
Looks like you're watching all the right documentaries. Just in case you got those superpowers to be the Superman, you are also equipping yourself with all the knowledge to then be able to do all the right things. That's very reassuring. Yeah. So moving on, Ran, who is your favorite business leader and why?
Business leader, not just regular leader.
You can pick a leader as well.
No, I'll say business leader. I like one guy that I really I'll say admire in the way that he turned around things in his life on the business side is Lou Gerstner. He was the IBM CEO. He came from being an IBM of a pastry and cookies factory, and he took IBM, which was a big surprise, but he turned them upside down from a negative margin company to a very positive margin company. So I think he's the one I'm always looking at the way he did it. I think that Elon Musk is an inspiring person, fascinating me personally with the ideas that he has, and it's very close, like around SpaceX. It's very close to my previous background, and he's doing things that I never thought someone can do. But I would like to mention another person, which I think and it's more related to the business we are doing. So one person I think we should all look and learn, but I'm personally doing it on a regular basis, is Suparna, the CEO of NDTV, the way she's managing the CNN of India, the challenges she's facing, from financial challenges to editorial challenges to managing a big business like this. I think she's a very strong leader, and from my perspective and the way I'm watching her, she's a super leader.
Fantastic. Couple of more questions before I let you go. I will give you a few adjectives, and if you could quickly think of who would you pick from within Taboola who comes to your mind when I see these adjectives? A visionary.
Well, that's gonna be tough. Okay.
So the first one is a visionary.
Adam.
Okay. Always optimistic.
Always optimistic. Fernando.
All right. Always smiling.
Jose Ariel Pisetsky.
Okay. And someone who always has great stories to tell.
Wow, great stories to tell. Eliran, he left us.
Okay, if I could probably take a jab at it, I would perhaps say Hanan, because I have heard him come up with some crazy stories, from him being in a plane in India, attempting to buy all the stuff that the cabin crew had, to doing some really crazy things. So I really enjoy his stories.
I agree, by the way. Hanan is great stories. Absolutely.
Someone who is extremely funny.
Ariel Pisetsky.
Oh, sorry, you just said that.
Someone. No, it's okay. You asked me about someone who's always smiling, someone who's funny. Both.
Fair. Going back to your school days, Ran, do you categorize yourself as someone who was very obedient or mischievous? What kind of category would you put yourself in?
I was a very naughty boy, focusing on sports in my young generation, in my young age. Sorry. So I consider myself as a sports person at school from A to Z.
All right. So given that you were a very naughty child back in school, how do you think your high school teachers would react if they knew you were the SVP of a company that does a couple of $1 billion in revenue and is a listed company? How do you think they would react to it?
I think most of them would be surprised, very surprised. They wouldn't believe. Maybe my math teacher will say that he strongly believed in me many years, but in general, they will be surprised.
Well, we all share the sentiment of that math teacher of yours, and that prediction turned out to be true, and we are glad for it. Thank you so much, Ran, for being such a good sport and for answering all these questions. I really kind of enjoyed this conversation, and there were some really good insights from all the things that you just shared. Among all the things, though, I guess for me, the biggest takeaway from this conversation would be sometimes what is possible is what we believe is possible. If we change what we believe, I think that is where it all starts. I think you've had to face circumstances wherein it would have been the rational thing to perhaps take a step back or give it to self-doubts, but you chose to defy that rationale and logic and instead chose to believe. And if all of us could do the same thing with whatever situation we find ourselves in, I'm sure we will make great strides in our respective careers. Thank you so much, Ryan, for continuing to push us and for inspiring us as you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone for a great 2021 and all the years up to now.